discussion. Discussion. Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Sweetwater County Commissioners Special Meeting this Tuesday, December 14th. The purpose of this meeting is a White House Interagency Working Group on Coal Communities discussion panel. And at this time, I would like to turn this panel over to Commissioner Shanefield. Commissioner Shanefield.
Good morning. First, I want to thank everybody for coming this morning. We know that you've had the opportunity to meet with many other counties across the state. And over the last few weeks, we're really thankful to have the opportunity to talk to you about Sweetwater County and some of the specific issues and effects that the transitioning energy field has had on our community, as well as some of the unique opportunities that we have to diversify our economy and continue to provide energy resources to our nation as a whole. I will start with introductions to our team. I'm Lauren Shanefield. I am a county commissioner here in Sweetwater County. And we also have with us Mayor Tim Como of Rock Springs. I believe the city administrator, Reed Clevenger for Green River. We have Eric Bingham, our land use director for Sweetwater County. Amy Murphy, the Dean of Outreach and Workforce Development for Western Wyoming Community College. Ron Wild, he is the Regional Business Manager for Rocky Mountain Power. And Holly Kritka, she's the Executive Director of the School of Energy Resources at the University of Wyoming. We also have our Grants Manager for Sweetwater County, Christina Marshall, who will be able to chime in with any grants questions or answers for that. So now I will turn it over to Briggs White to do introductions on your end.
Okay, good morning. This is Drew. I'm not seeing Briggs on yet. We're just starting to get the federal agencies on the line. So if we can give it just a minute here.
Absolutely.
I did see John Grosshans. He's on.
Thanks, Drew. I think you're right. People are arriving, and usually we're a couple minutes to gather. So you might want to wait just a few more minutes for other folks to jump on here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sweetwater County was so prompt this morning. They've opened and done introductions, and so I am not seeing Briggs yet. In his absence, John, I may ask somebody from your side to step up and just help us identify.
Join the meeting.
Oh, there's Matthew Dalby as well. Good morning, Matthew. Matthew, oh, he's connecting. Okay.
And Drew, that's no problem. If Briggs isn't on right away, then we can certainly go on the federal side here.
Yeah, and I do know Dalby kind of ran the meeting last time, so I might ask for him to help if he's online. Matthew Dalby, are you online yet?
I am. I was just having some technical issues this morning, so sorry I am late. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't see Briggs on yet. So
Right.
Sweetwater County has started with their introductions. If you
Okay.
could just assist us with introductions on the federal side, that would be appreciated. And then you're going to turn it back over to Commissioner Shanefield, and she'll take it from there.
Okay, happy to do it. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Dalby. I work in the policy office at the Environmental Protection Agency. I'm a urban planner and have spent most of my career at EPA, in fact, all of my career at EPA, starting back in 2004, working with communities on land use and economic development issues, noting that when communities have strong economies and grow in ways that reuses existing infrastructure and provides transportation options and diversification of economic opportunities, it's always better for the environment. And so I've been working on this IWG now since it started back in February. And so for as Drew mentioned, I did sort of help moderate the conversation with Campbell County last week. And we did sort of start off with the folks on our federal team that are part of the Interagency Working Group on coal and power plant communities. I did have some of them, or at least we went through the agencies that were online. And I think I'm just looking at the list right now. I think we have the right number so that we can have our federal colleagues introduce themselves. And so let me first have my colleague Briggs White introduce himself. He's the Deputy Director for the IWG.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for hosting us and your partnership. My name is Briggs White. I'm the Deputy Director for the Interagency Working Group, and it's really nice to be with you, and also glad that a lot of our federal agency partners are here to really listen and learn about how we can help. Thanks.
Great. So we'll stay with the Department of Energy. I think John Litinsky is on. Why don't you introduce yourself from DOE? I think you're on mute still, John. Still on mute, sorry.
Triple muted, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm John Litinsky. I work in our fossil energy and carbon management program, the director for carbon transport and storage, and actually just relocated to Wyoming. So look forward to working with you and the team in your county, and really appreciate the opportunity to engage and learn more about what you're facing. So thank you.
Great. Why don't we have some folks from maybe our USDA colleagues? Can you all introduce yourself? I think it's just Scott at this point. So.
Yeah, hello, I'm Scott Sutherland. I'm the Business Program Director for USDA Rural Development here in Wyoming.
Great, thanks. We have some DOL, Department of Labor folks on. You all want to introduce yourself? Maybe. All right, how about, I think we have somebody from transportation, DOT person.
Yes, I am Reed Garfield in the Office of Secretary at U.S. Department of Transportation.
Okay, thanks, Reed. Folks from Interior, any folks from Interior on? Hi, Debbie.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Yolande Norman Moore, and I'm with the Office of Surface Mining, Reclamation, and Enforcement with the Department of Interior. I'm with our AML Reclamation Program.
Great, thanks. Anyone else? Any other Interior folks on?
Good morning. My name is Jonna Blackhair. I'm the Deputy Bureau Director for the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the Office of Trust Services.
Great, thanks. We have at least one EDA person, Economic Development Administration person. I think it's Aaron, you're on, right?
Good morning, I'm Aaron Pratt. I'm the Deputy Economic Development Representative for EDA, serving Wyoming and Montana.
Great, thanks, Aaron. Why don't we go to my EPA colleagues? I think you're on, John, right? I see you.
Hi, everyone. John Grosshans, also a city planner at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, working with a lot of communities on their revitalization needs.
Great. And I'm having a hard time seeing who else is on, but any other feds that want to introduce themselves? Oh, hey, Amy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Lloyd. I'm a senior advisor in the Office of the Secretary at the Department of Education.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Anyone else?
Good morning. Deb, good morning. This is Deb Ferris with the Small Business Administration serving the state of Wyoming.
Great. Thank you, Deb. Anyone else?
Good morning, Mark Fellmeyer, State Director for Wyoming, located here in Casper.
For HUD, right?
Correct, thank you.
Correct. Thanks. Anyone else? All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Commissioners. Is it Schoenfeld or is it Schoenfeld?
Schoenfeld.
Schoenfeld, okay.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you. Thank you. Thank you for having us join you all today.
Of course, we so appreciate you being here. And we know that you've had conversations, like you said, with Campbell County and some of our other communities. And we're really excited that you are taking the time out to talk to us and to learn about some of our unique needs and some of the things that make Sweetwater County awesome. So before we dig into our agenda, I just wanted to share a short story. So this is my story, but it's a story that is widely spread across Sweetwater County and the state of Wyoming. So my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather, along with my grandmother and her 5 siblings, traveled over here to the United States from Yugoslavia. They came through Ellis Island, and they came here to Sweetwater County because of the coal mines. They built their lives on the opportunities that we have here. And now 4 generations later, my family's still here in Sweetwater County. We're still building our lives here, and we are excited to look towards the future of what energy might look like so that we may continue to stay here. I know that this is a story that is widely spread across our community, and almost all of us are here in Sweetwater County in one way or another because of the industry that we have. The industry here started with coal, and it's given us the opportunity to thrive. We also recognize that this is a boom and bust economy. And we are working very hard through our local economic development coalition, our communities, to diversify our economy so that we can continue to thrive across the state and also to provide the energy that we always have across our nation. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to run a short video just about Sweetwater County and the history. And then we'll turn it over to our City of Rock Springs Mayor Como and the City of Green River Administrator Reed Clevenger to just talk about some impacts specific to their communities. We don't have audio, Ashley.
With the railroad
There we go.
came a need for. Rock Springs began its industrial life in the 1800s with the appearance of the Union Pacific Railroad. With the railroad came a need for coal, and industry took root as coal mining began. The natural gas industry came to southwestern Wyoming in the early 1900s when the first natural gas well was successfully drilled. Since that time, this industry has continued to grow and is presently the largest industry in southwest Wyoming. In the 1930s, trona, the raw mineral used for baking soda and glass production, was discovered in mass quantities. Presently, 5 large underground mines under international ownership annually excavate hundreds of millions of tons to world markets. Since the first railroad track crews and cowboys gathered in Rock Springs in the mid-1800s, this area has continued to grow and diversify its business community. The Rock Springs Sweetwater County Regional Airport is available for your travel needs as well. Rock Springs is a great place to visit, move your business, and grow your family. We invite you to our safe community and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Como, City of Rock Springs Mayor, to talk a little bit about impacts that he has seen, and then we'll turn it over to Reed Clevenger from Green River.
Good morning, everyone. Well, it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces. I've been working with the Interagency Working Group for quite some time. Briggs in the group, great conversations. Just a little bit about Rock Springs, and I brought it up before during our meetings. We live in a region of natural mineral development wealth. You might say coal, trona, uranium, gas, oil, working on green energy, and the impacts that we're seeing from the transition from coal to more renewable energies. Wind and solar are dramatic. I brought this up before, but we're not at the point where workers are waiting for coal plants to be mothballed and turned away. They know that writing's on the wall, so they're vacating as we speak, which is critical for us, because that then impacts our communities by the loss of families, the loss of workers, the loss of jobs, the loss of kids in school, all which is hinged to funding opportunities, and which then are lost to our communities. Our city, Rock Springs, all of our cities are driven by sales tax, and the declination of sales tax reaps its ugly head on our budgets. The city of Rock Springs over the last couple of years has cut upwards of $9 million from their budget and trying to keep up with essential needs. So when we start talking about impacts and transitions from coal-related jobs into others, we need to be having that conversation much sooner than later, because the impacts are already upon us, and we miss the opportunities. You're going to hear some stories about some of the projects that Sweetwater County has been working on to try to diversify our economy, but we need action now. We can't wait. That ship has sailed quickly, and missed opportunities that will be what we're left with. We live on the I-80 corridor, 191 north and south. We have available rail, airport, the infrastructure we need to diversify, but we need some assistance from this group. And I've discussed this before in several meetings with Briggs and the group. We just need action now. We're going to lose the opportunity to diversify and bring good paying jobs up to our region and maintain families in our community. A little bit of talk about just what's east of Rock Springs, or Rock Springs uplift. Basically 52 miles by 30 miles of an uplift that could be used for the storage of upwards of 26 billion tons of CO2 for carbon sequestration projects that we all know are critical in trying to stabilize our climate and the goals from this federal administration to do so. We have a lot of unique opportunities here, but we need your assistance. That's a little bit about Rock Springs, what we're facing right now, and losing the high-paying jobs and the families for our communities are nothing that we are looking forward to. So I'd be happy to take any questions, but that's a little bit about Rock Springs, why we're here, and anything we can do to get this ball rolling and help it on its way to invest in Sweetwater County and our communities would be a very rewarding investment for the entire nation.
Mayor, a follow-up question, if I could. So for these, where do you feel like you are in terms of needs for assistance? Is it supporting the planning and or say engineering or business analysis around various concepts that you see as opportunities, or is it more getting the funding or substantial assistance to actually take those ideas and move them forward?
That's a good question. And hi, Briggs, nice to see you. I'll tell you where the funding is needed. First off, we have a fantastic community college that's working to create programs to transition coal-related jobs to other jobs. We were in the running, you may have heard, for the proposed nuclear plant to be located at our Jim Bridger power plant, but Cameron, Wyoming was selected, which we're happy for that. So we need money for coal transition jobs in our community college programs. And then what is most needed, Briggs, is infrastructure dollars. We have been planning what we call the Middle Baxter Industrial Park to open up an area east of Rock Springs so we could promote, market, and develop business park to entice other businesses whether it's rare earth or battery storage, whatever it may be. It's located right on the interstate near our airport, and we're trying to bring the water and the infrastructure into that area and create that park. So we know that's going to cost upwards of $30 to $40 million to get that park up and running, but the planning has already been done. We have preliminary design underway, so the engineering costs have already been expended. It's getting close to shovel ready, if you would, and that's a big project for Rock Springs that would help us increase our tax revenues and bring some of those businesses that we need into our community to diversify our economy. So yes, money, dollars for infrastructure on the ground, construction, that type of investment is what we are looking for.
Can I have a quick follow-up, Mayor, on that project? What is sort of the way that your planning goes to implementation? Does it flow right through to, you know, like one of the federal agencies that would support the funding for this? I mean, I know, you know, obviously, you know, EDA funds this type of infrastructure, USDA does as well. Or is there a process where you go through like a council of government for this, or do you go through the state? Yeah, what's the process there?
So that process, and I'm so glad that Mr. Eric Bingham has joined us. He is our county planner and also sits on the board of our SEDC economic development group. And I'm going to refer that to him, and he can explain the process through the county that project would take place.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
You want me to jump in right now, Lauren?
Yeah, that's fine. We are going to talk about that project, the carbon sequestration project potentially, and a few other opportunities in just a minute. But Eric, if you want to jump in and answer that question, that's fine.
So the funding mechanisms for the cost for this project, the main thing is water and getting water out there. We have an airport out there that is in need of water, and also this industrial park. So the funds that we could potentially look at are through the Wyoming Business Council. The thing about that is that there's only a limited amount of money that would be available for that, in the rounds of around $3 to $6 million. So those would not cover the major amount of money that would be needed to fund that industrial park. The other mechanism that we could utilize is EDA, which we haven't applied for yet. We did apply through the Build Back Better challenge for at least a market feasibility study for a renewable park out there. And we just haven't heard back yet as far as the awards of that. But yes, there are some mechanisms there, but because of how much the infrastructure costs, we need a lot of money. So those are really the funding mechanisms that we have is EDA that I see. That maybe USDA might be a possibility too, through water. But yeah, they're there. Those funding mechanisms are there. It's just the amount of money that's going to be required for this infrastructure and the costs, all the cuts that have occurred with all the municipalities in the county gives us limited funds to apply towards that project.
Are there any additional questions for Eric at this time?
Yeah, one follow-up question from rural development. Is there any kind of residential housing component that could be tied into that water extension out to the industrial park and the airport?
Yes, there could, and that's actually was part of the plan when we went through the project. We have a subdivision out there. It's a residential subdivision that is on well and septic. They're 1 acre lots that are out there. And the subdivision's been out there for 20 plus years. It's near Simplot, a fertilizer manufacturing facility. It's a very nice subdivision. One thing that's occurring out there is the wells are starting to dry up. And so they have a definite need for water. I couldn't tell you how many lots. I'm thinking 30 lots are out there right now. And so what we were proposing to do is a looped system, bringing a tank up to within close proximity of the residential park. I'm sorry, the residential subdivision, so that they could potentially have water out there. And then this line would loop around through the park and to the airport. So there's a lot of benefits that we see by adding this infrastructure out there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Anything additional?
I would just say that it would be, I'd love to continue to, to have an offline conversation with Eric about some of this, some of the next steps. And so maybe Eric, we can just connect afterwards as well.
That would be great. That'd be great.
And just so you guys are aware, we did attach the executive summary for this project, the Middle Baxter project, to the invitation. And so there is additional information in there on that, as well as the Rock Springs uplift information. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Reed Clevenger, the city administrator from Green River, to add in anything that Green River has seen specifically. And then we will move into the projects that the additional projects outside of Middle Baxter that we have opportunity around.
Thank you, Lauren. And first of all, I'm Reed Clevenger with City of Green River, city administrator, and appreciate all of you taking your time to be here today. I'd say for the most part, we're very complimentary to the information that Mayor Como had shared. We're a town, for those of you who don't know, we're about 12 miles apart, between 12 to 15 miles apart. Most of the stuff that is on our west side, being all the Trona mines, we do have a large number of people who do work within the Jim Bridger and the coal.
Join the meeting.
Facility. And I think the some of the key aspects of that is what we've been trying to work on from an economic development side is just trying to complement all the stuff and the natural resources that we have, looking for economic development, such as this Middle Baxter Road project, to complement what industry we might be able to do to that attaches with what we can accomplish out here. And I think when you look at we're kind of siloed, even though we're two separate cities, we work really well together from a county perspective and within the two cities, and looking at things that can complement the entire community, if you will. So I appreciate anything we can do to help move some of this stuff forward. I agree with, we agree with Tim in the sense that we're at the point of, sooner than better, or sooner is better for us. We need to begin. This is something that feels like we've been working on for 7 or 8 years on some of this stuff. So, and I think we have, with some of the opportunity that is out there that I think, definitely now's a good time. We did receive on those 60 finalists on that EDA coal impacted communities. I just forward that to you from what we saw, what was released. We were not part of that finalist group, just FYI. So even though we're like one of the top 10 impacted ones. So.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Reed?
Yeah, hello, this is Scott Sutherland again from Rural Development. I was just kind of curious on the Green River side, is it still primarily landlocked by federal land? And if I remember right, you were trying to work with a federal agency or two on some kind of land swap in order to be able to expand?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, for the most, I mean, in one sense, we are landlocked. We are, we're looking at a number of areas here. When you look at the BLM side, or you look at, Anadarko, some of them on that level of land ownership, pretty much like all of Wyoming, but we had a couple areas that we were looking for growth. We've been looking at expansion that goes towards Rock Springs at one level, working with the county on their growth management plan, which is west of Green River. With some of the, we've had a couple of developments that are being done out there. We're looking at that area, and without using word annexation aspects and stuff like that, there are some, we have some stuff in the pipeline that is trying to help that growth out of the landlocked side of what we have. I mean, we're sitting in the middle of a kind of a bowl, if you will. So, but we've looked up in multiple areas only because of some of the expansions going on with the mines, with the Trona mines out there, with the nuclear facility that was approved, which is only about 50 miles from here. It just makes a lot of sense to broaden that scope and work with the county on that. Thank you.
And so the nuclear plant and then the Trona mines are the economic drivers for the developments that you just mentioned.
Yeah, for the most part, the Trona mines, the nuclear one will have some impact on this side. It's going to impact a couple counties actually. But I said, because of our proximity, just as similar in Rock Springs, there's a number of people who work at the Trona mines as there are a number in Green River that work at the coal Bridger plants and stuff too. So.
And I just have one. Sorry.
I'm sorry, can I jump into and just, we have some very basic infrastructure needs with those expansions and development, and those are water and sewer needs. And I also, we had a special or specific purpose tax initiative that we looked at imposing. We did not put it on the ballot a few years ago. And just the basic infrastructure needs for our communities was a slightly over $102 million. For basic things like that, that Reed is talking about with water and infrastructure and sewer.
Just two quick questions on the water and sewer. Have you all? Is there funding from the state through the state revolving fund for water and wastewater, which is there's an EPA set of funding that goes to every state that leads to very, very low interest loans for water and wastewater infrastructure. Have you all?
Yeah, we're currently, as Laura mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of other basic infrastructure in order for us to do any kind of expansion. Here in Green River specifically, we are working on that side. We have a water treatment plant, sewer treatment plant that is past its life cycle it's the largest lagoon system in this side of the country. It was built in the 60s, and we're only supposed to have it was a test facility, but it had a life cycle that was supposed to be done in the 80s, and then we had some liners, and they're 10 years past its life cycle. We've just finished engineering on that. We had gone out for bids, and pre-COVID, the cost was going to be $27 million to put this new mechanical plant in. We were working with the state on that side. We also, once the bids came in last month, they came in at over $42 million. So over 50% increase without change, just in the cost of the labor and the materials and parts. So we reached back out to the state. They helped us convert the loan. We just got that approved here a couple of weeks ago to the low end, to put it all on a lower interest one, which is going to help save us money. And then we're working in a couple of different areas right now on trying to access some of those funds. One of those, from our side, we looked at it as part of a specific purpose tax that Lauren mentioned. We were looking to put about 20 to 25% on that, but now we're with that increase, we're looking, that would have to be quite a bit more. We actually rejected the bids for multiple things. We're doing some re-engineering and hoping to put that back out here within around March to take a look at that. But when we're based on sales tax revenues, and as Tim mentioned there, the decline that we've had, and that's our number one source of revenue. It's it's been very difficult to get. We're seeing sales tax revenues that are back in go back into the early 90s right now. We're looking at all kinds of avenues, but I appreciate that, Matthew. That's definitely an area that we're working on, and we've had a number of conversations, and they've been helpful in that aspect of it. But these problems are going to take multiple facets to be able to accomplish.
Totally get that. And that's why I think I'm hoping that if there's that's why we're doing this as an interagency working group, because there's a lot of little pieces that we all bring to the table, and we want to make sure that we're bringing them at a pace and increments that are supportive of you. So let's keep talking on that one as well.
Yep. That's all I have from my side.
I'm going to turn it over to Holly from the University of Wyoming, because I believe that the carbon capture opportunity that we have here with the Rock Springs Uplift is a huge deal. And I believe that it would move us in the right direction significantly for years to come. And so, Holly.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lauren. So hi, everyone. I think I know most of you, but I'm Holly Crook. I'm the Executive Director of the School of Energy Resources here at the University of Wyoming. And we are focused on energy-driven economic development. So we do research, but it's very, very applied, and we support our stakeholders across the state as they look at on the energy side of economic development. And there is no question, so there are a lot of energy opportunities for Sweetwater County. Perhaps one of the most exciting and one of the ones we've spent the most time working on would be CO2 storage associated with the Rock Springs Uplift. The Rock Springs Uplift is a prolific CO2 storage opportunity. We have studied it in depth, and we estimate that it can hold 25 billion tons of CO2, which would be over 400 years of all the emissions from Wyoming. And if you think about the future in a carbon-constrained world and the production of trona, refining, power, we have lots of different industries that could use that CO2 storage. And so we're really keen to build on what we've already done working in that area and actually build a carbon management industry in Sweetwater County based on that Rock Springs Uplift, which we're seeing it as a resource. So that's really exciting. And then I think there are a couple other opportunities, Lauren, if you don't mind, that I just mentioned really quickly, because I unfortunately have to go sing for my dinner. I have to go talk to the state legislature and get our appropriations for the next 2 years so that I can still be here and talk to you folks. So I'll go through a couple other opportunities as well. I think Sweetwater County and the surrounding areas are really ideally suited for a hydrogen hub as well. We have a lot of infrastructure for natural gas that could be really well suited. So the Opal hub, which serves the West Coast with natural gas, is probably one of the top areas that should be considered for a hydrogen hub. And again, if we're looking at blue hydrogen, then that CO2 storage is going to be really critical. But they also have great wind. So green hydrogen is also certainly of interest in that area. You guys have already mentioned nuclear. One thing that I've mentioned to the interagency working group before, I think, and folks from DOE is that one of the things I'm going to go talk to the legislature about here, the state legislature, is funding for capacity building for nuclear in the community college. Western Wyoming Community College has already been mentioned. We would definitely, if we are successful in raising funds from the state, we're hoping the feds in some fashion can help match those so that we can help pay for new program development to transition workers. We have a great workforce out there, but there are some differences. So we'd very much like to do that. And I think I've already mentioned there is a lot of wind opportunity that can be used for other things. So that's where the School of Energy Resources can help support Sweetwater County. And I hope that the folks at the federal level really recognize, totally support the assertion that the time is now and that there is a lot of opportunities in Sweetwater County. And I think that's it.
Are there any questions for Holly? Thank you so much for joining us.
Lauren, it's Mary Tolman.
Go ahead.
We've been getting presentations on these carbon production facilities that could take the carbon emissions and within 5 years start producing jet fuel, biofuel, and fertilizers from the emissions from the coal plants. And I talked to the Bureau of Land Management. They have had 3 companies approach them, but they don't know how to permit it. They don't know if to permit it as a mine or, so we have 3 strong interests in this county to come in here and do some kind of emissions production. But the hang up right now is the Bureau of Land Management being able to figure out how to permit it.
I should have said that, actually. Thanks for bringing that up. One of the big challenges in Wyoming, we've done a ton of work on carbon capture and storage in the state, but it is, and we have at the state level passed a lot of legislation to make this technology become a reality. But you know, we have a lot of federal lands in Wyoming, and it is still not clear how to lease federal pore space. It is one of our remaining barriers. And so that is a really good point, that we are really concerned about how can, especially with our checkerboard, that is going to hinder carbon storage development in Wyoming. So that's another area that you all could help, is by trying to define how we get how project developers can get leases to federal pore space.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. For me and my small brain here, like I would love to understand that more. I mean, is there like a one pager that I could that I could read to understand this? And then I think that we would share that across with our, because when you say permitting, there's a lot of us who have something to do with that. And I'm not gonna, that's the amount of knowledge that I have right now. And we can certainly talk to our DOI colleagues and things like that too. So if I could just get a little bit of if we can get a little bit of write-up of this, that would be helpful. And do any of our DOI colleagues want to jump in on that point, or should we keep moving
on? I think we have people. I don't know if we have anyone from BLM on our call. I think we have other parts of DOI.
And I do know from infrastructure and development across the entire state, I sit on the state broadband council as well. And we do find that permitting is one of the biggest hindrances to getting things up and out. Infrastructure stood up. We had the broadband, and I'm just going to bring this up now because it came up, but we had the broadband funding that came from the federal government to our state, and we stood up a great program, but our providers couldn't get a lot of it up in the time frame given because of the permitting process. And so that's something that we are working at the state level to try to work through. And that's specific to broadband infrastructure, but I think it goes across the board. That's an issue that we need to work on.
No, I appreciate that. And I know that just from the bipartisan infrastructure law, there is statutory authority to stand up an actual council to work on permitting, across all of our agencies. And in fact, since we've been on, I got an email about that, being asked to sort of help somebody on it. So, this is a great time for this conversation to keep going. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we'll work on putting
with DOE. Oh, sorry.
No, I said we'll work on putting something together. Go ahead.
Great, thank you.
And this is John Latinsky from DOE, and we sponsor a lot of projects. We've done some work in the Rock Springs uplift and characterization of that area with Wyoming and others. And but the BLM permitting, and actually we've been talking to other agencies like within DOI, Forest Service, and other agencies, and as well as like Bessie for even offshore. In my mind, there is some progress there, but we would like to hear your specific concerns, because there are also DOE's interest as well, because as we sponsor projects under the infrastructure bill to look at geologic storage around the United States, there's going to be different agencies and different land issues and access issues, not just subsurface, but at the surface as well. So again, thanks. We can help be an advocate because it affects our programs and where we're going to partner with Wyoming and some other states. So.
Thank you. We only have about 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we have enough time for questions at the end, even though we've had some intermix throughout. I want to turn it over to our community college. We have Amy Murphy here, and she is the Dean of Outreach and Workforce Development for Western Wyoming Community College. And we have an awesome resource here in Sweetwater County with our community college, and they've done a lot of work around development for our industrial needs. And I would like to turn it over to her just to kind of explain what their process is and then what needs that they will have in this process.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you again for the time this morning. I am actually fairly new to Western Wyoming Community College, but I have over 29 years working in higher ed with the workforce development and outreach, working with business and industry. And Western actually is very fortunate in regards to like the programming. We have outstanding industry partners who help kind of integrate in what their needs are, and we're very responsive as far as setting up programming. For example, we just did a plant operation program that we brought online. We're bringing a power line program this fall, fiber optics this fall. We were a little disappointed with Wyoming not being selected as part of one of the individual grant recipients, in the process with the EDA. Actually, I don't believe anybody in Wyoming was selected at all as far as that process. And part of what we had in that was actually a building aspect of it to help us kind of grow one of our programming. As many have mentioned, we have the nuclear facility coming in Kemmer. And I actually had in my previous institution that I worked at, we had 3 nuclear facilities in the area. And to kind of get that up and going, we do need to get a program in place at Western, and we're going to be working obviously with the industry leaders there to get that going. And we have a little bit of time because obviously they got the construction aspect of it going. But what's instrumental in what we've got going is we've got the industries that are here, the partners that are here. If you look at where they were 5, even 10 years ago to where they are today, there's not the number of employees that there used to be. And that concerns me because if anything happens to any of the mining industries, we have to find a location for those individuals to go. And there's not, I don't mean this to be like a doom and gloom, but you have to look at reality and you look at what's out there. These are some well-paying jobs with great benefits. And if something is to happen to one of those, to relocate those individuals, you stand the chance of them moving out of the area, and that's not what we want. We want to keep them here. We want to sustain the area. We want to grow the area. So when you look at this, having the opportunities to even kind of reimagine what the facility would look like and kind of grow, we have a couple places that are growing, and we're getting very creative in our programming that we do. We not only do the credit associate degree programs, but we also have a very strong workforce development where we can customize training programs to what industry needs. And that's very critical because things change on a regular basis and you need to be able to respond. And that's one of the pieces that we're very proud of at Western is we can respond quite quickly, get things up and going to ensure that's there. But one of the pieces that's there, and it's across the nation right now, is that skilled labor shortage that's out there. And we're getting creative at Western, and we're looking at kind of branching down into the high school areas to kind of develop some programming that we can push down to the junior and senior levels to kind of get them started. So if they're interested in going into any of these different energy fields, they can have some initial training on a junior and senior level and then kind of finish it up real quickly at the community college. That's one of our goals coming up here in this next calendar year with the schools, is to get those programming going. We also are working very heavily. We have some opportunities for some new growth with some of the companies, expansion, some new product lines. So we're looking to be able to be responsive to what those needs are as well. I'm happy to answer any questions too that you might have in regards to that, any of the programming that we have. I know Ron Wild is on there. We have great advisory boards that actually provide a lot of feedback that gives us what we need to kind of be responsive as well.
Thank you, Amy. Are there any questions?
So the one question I have is, can we follow up on this? Because I think, what you're describing is sort of, frankly, the genius of the community college system in the country to be responsive and nimble and such. And, I think it's really incumbent upon us, in our agencies to be supportive of this, right? Because this is how communities across the country have transformed when community colleges have been able to do the things that you described. So, we would like to work with you, on that piece, even though, as you said, that part was not, it doesn't sound like it was funded recently, but we want to work with you on other avenues for funding that, because it's really important. So
Perfect. Thank you.
Commissioner, I wonder if with 10 minutes left, maybe we should pivot to some action items, or at least make sure that we have a little bit of a wrap up at the end. But I think, did we have at least one more person that was scheduled to speak?
I was going to have Ron Wild speak about some Bitcoin and blockchain opportunities that we potentially have here in Sweetwater County. Ron, can you do that in just a few minutes? I'm sorry.
You don't need to be sorry. I can run through this really quick. So with the recent events over in China, with them kicking the Bitcoiners out, there has been a significant increase in that type of activity here in Wyoming. And the biggest challenge that the companies have is coming in and finding a location that has a lot of power readily available for them, because that's not how we operate. We operate in such a manner that we build to meet customer requirements. But as was already mentioned, with the Middle Baxter Road area and so forth out there, that'd be a great location for them to move into if there was already infrastructure in place for them to do so. And I'll just sum it up like that, Lauren.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ron? Okay.
Maybe just on that point, when you say looking for infrastructure, is that like a site? Is that like a data center? What is that?
No, they're looking for like a substation, sir. Someplace that's already built that has a lot of capacity for them to be able to just come in and readily tap into without having the 18 to 24 month lead time for building such an infrastructure.
Gotcha. So it's sort of like a business park if you need access to electricity.
Correct, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So quick question on that. Scott Sutherland again from Rural Development. For the Bitcoin data miners, is that still just primarily the portable data center that they run in on, bring it in and are able to quickly pick it up and move it out? Or are they becoming more permanently attached physically?
They're becoming more permanently attached. Most of them are moving away from the C-tainers that you're talking about, sir, simply because of the fact that to have long-term viability, you have to have some sort of stability. And they're becoming aware of that as they are reducing the number of places that they can just bounce from one to the other. And Rocky Mountain Power has a requirement of a 10-year minimum contract for significant loads.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Briggs, I'm not sure what you had for action items for your previous meetings. Do you want to step in and run through those? Would you like me to do that?
Sure. I just thought maybe we can sort of tee up maybe what's coming next. One thing is we'll be having a statewide virtual event focused on Wyoming on December 17th on Friday. So you're all welcome to attend, and please do register so you can receive a link to attend that. And there will be 2 breakout sessions in the afternoon in addition to the formal programming. One focused on carbon related activities, which will certainly be relevant to this crowd. And there was another one that was on workers, which will also be relevant. So hopefully you'll join for that and continue the conversation. And on that note, I do want to acknowledge that the Wyoming applications were not selected to move forward under the EDA Build Back Better. But I think we should have a conversation about what needs to come next. We're interested in supporting those applications that were not selected, you put the time into, you invested that time into putting together an application. And so, let's talk about how we can share the information. Not everybody on this federal panel has had access to those applications. And so, if there are pieces of that you'd like to explore with some of these interagency partners, maybe we can pick out pieces of those and see, hey, does USDA have a pot of money to help you with some infrastructure through the rural development, or, can DOE help you with some carbon capture or what have you? We have Department of Labor who can help you with workforce related kind of things. So, let's keep the conversation going. And I think, clearly Friday will be a venue, but also, what will happen after Friday? If there are certain projects that you've envisioned that you'd like to move forward, you can tee those up for us offline. If you want to send us an email, you can send it to me. I'll drop my email in the chat, or any of us for that matter, and we'd be happy to follow up with you. And then, after Friday, what are those action items? I just kind of wanted to sort of tee that up. Maybe I'll ask Matt or any of my other federal colleagues, anything else that we want to tee up?
Yeah, thanks, Riggs. I think, I have sort of the infrastructure conversation. I'd like to follow up with Holly on like understanding the carbon management economy. And then it might be worthwhile just to have a more specific conversation around, the sales tax decline, and like what types of businesses and industry will help you with sales tax, right? I mean, and, are you looking at sort of, is it, retail establishment? Is it small? Is it entrepreneurship? Is it, those types of things as well? Because I think we could be helpful there. And then, with Amy on the community colleges, I mean, we do have our Department of Education sort of colleague on as well. And, I think, working with community colleges is an important part of what this administration is working on. Yeah. And let me just sort of say one other thing from the Campbell County conversation. I think most of us who are representing our agencies right now are career feds, right? So we're here for the long term. And, I've worked through, this is my fourth administration that I've worked through, and my colleagues at EPA are the same. And so we're not going anywhere. We're going to be working on this no matter how things play out over the next 4 years, 8 years and such. I mean, I think I'll retire in 12 years, but between now and then I will be here to help you guys. So, yeah.
We've got a lot of work for you in the next 12 years. So we're good. I don't know, anyone else? I know that some of our colleagues, like any EDA folks, want to jump in, or any other folks from other agencies. John Grosshans, you want to jump in?
And I'll echo your comments earlier about the sales tax and learning a little bit more about the sales tax impacts. I think that's really helpful. And Briggs's comment about the debriefing or reconvening on the next steps related to some of those projects that were part of that EDA proposal would be really helpful. Because when I hear industrial park, I'm thinking it's not just a single package. It's below ground water infrastructure, it's above ground infrastructure, it's curb and gutter, there's transportation needs, there's a whole bunch of things that might potentially be pulled out of that proposal that could be funded elsewhere. And so that'd be a really healthy conversation to have with a lot of the folks, frankly, on this call right now.
This is John Latinsky. Just real quick, follow up on the water issues associated with the community, because as you're looking at hydrogen and CCS, those also draw in a lot of water demands. And so it'd be really good to follow up on kind of the planning for the community and economic development and what that means in terms of the industries that you're looking to support. And then I also really like the Bitcoin. We did some work on Bitcoin in the past. Energy intensive, requires a lot of electricity, on demand, but it also can be integrated with CCS if you get some clean energy from some of the power plants and renewable energy. So I'd love to follow up in terms of your plans on Bitcoin and what the requirements for those, the industry that wants to come in.
How about from Sweetwater County? Is there anything else that we need to hear?
Lauren, if I could, one thing I'd just like to reiterate, of course, I'm just a small town mayor, but I just want to stress that if we get anything, we need your help on anything possible discussed here today. One thing that we have been working, I think Reed stressed it earlier, for several years, is the Middle Baxter industrial park. That is one project that would help diversify our economy, bolster our local mineral development, transportation, utilities, good paying jobs, the whole 9 yards. Very close to shovel ready. We could wrap that up and move forward with it almost immediately. It would enhance our ability to bring water to the subdivision that Eric had stressed earlier. And you should keep in mind that that subdivision had planned an expansion a while back, and that expansion was actually denied by the county commission just due to the fact of water needs. So this project meets a lot of needs. And I know we're going in different paths and trying to find funding for different opportunities, but I think if it's the scenario that if you build it, they will come. And I have the heartfelt thought that if we could get that park up and running, I keep in mind too, I want to throw in there that we have a great airport that's just east of this park that we haul potable water to. It does not have water, if you can imagine. So every day we haul truckloads of water up there to meet the need for fire protection and potable water. So with this project would be the ability to bring a water line also into our Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport. If we can do anything, like I said, don't miss these opportunities. In my opinion, the Middle Baxter project would be number one of our priorities. That's just me speaking, but just my thoughts.
Thank you, Mayor Como. These guys have to drop off to speak with Converse County. And so I wanted to say thank you to everyone for coming. We will look forward to continuing these conversations, and we will be back in touch with some of these specifics. We'll see you all on Friday. Thank you.